Hey guys, I'm Jamie Brough with Pillar to Post Home Inspectors, the Brough team here in Alaska. We perform home inspections on residential properties for buyers and sellers and across almost the entire state of Alaska, most routinely from Talkeetna to Girdwood. Sure. Home inspections are designed specifically to be a non-invasive evaluation of the home and its systems. So we do not do things like cut into a wall to see if there's an actual shutoff valve where there should be. That is the most commonly asked questions of whether or not I can literally cut into a wall to see if there's a valve. So, what we're looking for is safety aspects of the home, whether or not things are up to par when it comes to safety, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, GFCIs where they should be in the house, kitchens, bathrooms, laundry rooms, garages, that type of thing. And then of course here in Alaska we're always looking for possible structural issues from the many, many earthquakes that we have here. The first thing we look for, and I tell this to everybody who's new to Alaska, after we've had an earthquake, is to go through the home, excuse me, open and close all the windows, open and close all the doors, and check to see if any of them are jammed up that were not already jammed up previously. That is the first sign that there may be a structural issue. What we do from there is wherever that window or door is we follow that down through the crawl space to check all of the posts and beams and make sure there's nothing obviously wrong, like the post is not plumb anymore, or there's a large crack in one of the posts or beams, anything like that, and then we follow it straight up into the attic looking for the same thing with the trusses or rafters. The municipality now has things in place like they require a safety bollard in front of your furnace or water heater in the garage. That is not necessarily required out in the borough yet. It tends to take a couple of years before the borough catches up with what the municipality is doing. A safety bollard is basically a 3-inch steel pipe that is either anchored into the concrete in the garage or is set in concrete in the garage in front of those units, basically to prevent anybody from accidentally driving into it with their vehicle when they come into the garage. The first thing they should look for is, and I think everybody knows this, but maybe not, is to check for large cracks or cracks along window casings or doors. You see them quite regularly on the top corners of the windows and doors. That is not necessarily an indication of a structural issue, but it is things to look for. You can tell if the house has been, like in the 2018 earthquake was pretty significant. So there was a lot of cracking from that. So that's just an indication that I'm going to have to spend more time, or whatever home inspector you choose is going to spend more time looking for structural issues around those areas. The next easiest thing for them to look for is whether or not they have a resettable GFCI in bathrooms and along kitchen countertops, that type of thing. The same thing. Some of those cracks, to the untrained eye, they look significant and people freak out right away when they see cracks like that. But honestly, 80% of the time, they don't mean anything. They're just a crack in the drywall that can be patched and repainted again. The other thing I would say is what's very common here is moss on the north-facing side of roofs here in Alaska. It's very common. The north-facing side gets the least amount of sunlight throughout the year, and asphalt shingles will grow moss up there. It is easily cleaned off, but there is a proper way and an improper way to do that. If anybody climbs up there with a pressure washer to rinse that off, that is an improper way to clean that off. Do not do that. Call me, I'll tell you how to do it. Okay, so some homes here, most of them I found are in Anchorage. The foundations are actually set on a steel I-beam and steel posts, and then there's an all-weather wood foundation around it. People will call that an all-weather wood foundation, but it's not really. It's more skirting than anything to keep the earth outside of the crawl space. We did one in Anchorage where it looked like those walls had pushed in, the earth had been pushing the walls in, and that wasn't a big deal to me at the time because it's not supporting the home, it's just keeping dirt out. Turned out later on that my untrained brain back in that day didn't take into consideration that that is allowing water into that crawl space, which is never a good thing. So even though those walls weren't supporting the home, their job was compromised. So it was a big deal. So actually, the U.S. is broken up into some weird building types, right? So I grew up in New England. I actually grew up in Connecticut, although I don't claim that. I claim West Virginia as home. But in Connecticut, everybody uses their attic space for storage. In the Southeast, I lived in the Carolinas for quite a while. Nobody goes in their crawl space. The crawl space is like a forbidden place to go because there's snakes and bugs and all that good stuff in there. So there's no storage space there. Here in Alaska, nobody uses their attic for storage space. The insulation in the attic space is critical to keeping the home as warm and as efficient as possible. So when you store stuff in the attic space, you tend to squish down the insulation up there, which makes the insulation thinner, which then depletes the R value. Everybody here stores everything in their crawl space, which for me, when I first moved here, was really weird. I had never seen that before. But the crawl spaces up here, you don't have to worry about snakes and spiders and things that might kill you if you're in there. So no alligators either, so that's good. All right, guys, Jamie Brough here with Pillar to Post Home Inspectors, the Brough team in Alaska. If you have any questions regarding home inspections or how to prepare for a home inspection, we're willing to do that also. Give us a call at 907-521-7776 or look us up on Facebook under the Brough team, Pillar to Post Home Inspectors. Thanks again.